You're listening to The KYLO Show, the podcast where we talk about how to keep your love on no matter what and why whole healthy families are going to save the world. It's Christmas week, and this episode is going to feel like a gift. This week, Danny and Brittney talk about who God is, who we are, and how we were designed to love and live together. So turn up your Christmas spirit and get ready, because this week's episode starts right now.
Well, hello, everybody. This is the KYLO Show.
Merry Christmas version.
We are very Christmas. We've been Christmas for a little bit, but now it's really Christmas.
This is why we did it right here. If you're listening, you're missing the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you're watching, we're in our pajamas.
We're in our matching pajamas at that.
We are.
Which it's warm, except for today in the studios, it's a little toasty.
It's toasty in here.
Normally it's a little cold, so this is nice.
There's a fire right here. And
so hopefully we don't start sweating.
We'll have to open a window or something.
There's no window in here. But we're going to jump into some of the fun things that we've been, maybe fun is a big word, but hard, real.
Yeah. Yeah. Relative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of maybe hard conversations around holiday tables, and if Christmas, there's probably going to be possibly another one, and trying to do our best to give you help and truth.
Yeah, we keep talking about the key principles of KYLO, but it's probably more needed today in this season, around Christmas. Then it'll get tested right now more than ever.
Yes.
Are you a powerful person or are you a victim?
Mm-hmm.
Be powerful and chase the fear away with the love. Don't lose the war between love and fear. Just don't do it. Don't feed the fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're powerful, that's one of the key ways to do that. And the other way, really make sure that you've decided in your heart that you are going to pursue connection, no matter how crazy this conversation gets, no matter how unloving that person that you love gets, no matter what. Just keep connection your goal, and keep your communication respectful. Chase the anxiety away with that, and then honor healthy boundaries. Yours, starting with yours. Like what conversations are you going to participate in?
Yeah.
And what conversations are you not going to participate in? Well, all the disrespectful ones, you are not going to participate in. Yes.
Walk away.
Yes.
Which our topic for today is that we need a revival of truth.
Yeah.
And that's those conversations that happen around the table of, will you agree with me? You say you love me, but will you agree with me?
Yeah.
There's a lot of those, and there's a lot of confusion, it feels like, that I can't love you unless I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to be able to give my truth of what I am convicted in without you being offended or hurt or pushed away. So I don't get to display my truth unless I agree with your truth, which isn't my truth. And then I don't know how to be around you. So either I just sit silently and feel distant, or disappear, or get angry. I mean, these are often the things that seem to happen. And so knowing how to navigate, how do you have truth?
Well, there is a source of truth that, or there isn't. If there is not a source of truth, then you get to define words, redefine those same words, then redefine what you redefined, and keep doing it until you get your way. And that is, that's kind of the nature of politics, really, is that we just keep redefining terms so that we're never accountable for not producing the results we said we were going to do, because that's not how we define that word anymore.
Wow.
And we continually move the goalposts around because what you thought I was saying, I'm not saying anymore. I'm saying something totally different because that's not how I define that term anymore.
That's confusing.
Yeah, well, it's terrible and it's super confusing. It creates chaos, which
Yeah.
is the second way I would describe politics is just absolute chaos.
Mm.
Especially when there is no source of truth. So when we talk about truth, we talk about biblical truth,
Yeah.
and it doesn't change, and yet there's still plenty to argue about. It is still, you got all these churches everywhere arguing over what it means,
There's a lot
but
of
it still doesn't really change.
Yeah.
There's a heart and core of biblical standards, morality. That's what that says right there. It's kind of tough to change it, but you can keep trying, but only if you get to redefine terms. And that's a whole lot of political correctness is aimed at redefining words, so that you can be offended and be really, really hurt because someone disagrees with you, because you personalize the conversation instead of discuss the topic or examine the facts. You personalize the conversation as an attack because we disagree. Like, no, let's look at the facts and then we can talk about it. But we're like, no, you are a racist. You are a bigot. Like, wow, that's not even what we're talking about. But that's quickly what happens when you say, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the information. Let's look at what the Bible says. Let's look at some things that don't move around with emotions. Let's talk about information and topic, not whether you're evil or good.
It does feel like our emotions more than ever get to be the truth definer. And not that that's a new concept, but it feels really loud as of late. And so I feel extremely dishonored by you when you won't validate my emotional truth. And so I get overcharged probably quickly in a conversation that doesn't need that much emotion or aggression or offense. So how do you, just thinking about what you were saying, in a conversation where someone has emotionally defined new truth, and I have a different conviction that's biblical of my truth, and then I am called names or made assumptions or accusations of my heart and my truth, how do you stay engaged and be loving? Because I think that's the hook, man. That's the violation of I'm gonna now be disrespectful and hurtful, and so speaking the truth in love it's out the window. It was on the fireplace with that log.
Right. And that's where be powerful comes in, is like, I manage me. I don't manage you. I don't manage what you think. I don't manage what you decide. I don't manage where you get your truth. I don't manage whether you change the definition of terms. I don't manage any of that. But I do manage whether I keep my love on and whether I control my honor towards you. So when 1 John chapter 3, starting around verse 420, or chapter 4, chapter 4, verse 20, he says, if you say you love God, but you hate your brother, you're a liar. That's, there you go. Because so now this is where we start to manage ourselves to be biblical. We hold ourselves to a biblical standard in a conversation, in a relationship. So I don't ever give myself permission to be disrespectful, to be dishonoring, no matter what is happening. The boundary may show up where I'm like, I am not going to have this conversation because this is going down a pretty painful path.
Yeah.
I'm not going to join you. I don't enjoy being called names. I don't enjoy you describing to me my character or my identity. I'm not having any fun being judged by you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where my bus stops right here. I'll be getting off this bus.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can keep going, but I'll be getting off the bus here. I love you. So I have to maintain that I can keep my love on. And some people can do it for quite a while. Other people can't do it very long at all.
Yeah.
And they got to get off the bus sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really a contest of how long did you stay on the bus.
Yeah.
It's more of a contest of did you stay in control of you.
Okay, I love that. I do feel like sometimes that makes us a better Christian if we can stay in this conversation longer.
Mm.
If you're, well, I stayed in the game. I asked all the hard questions. That somehow makes me a better person or Christian if I was able to, I don't know, receive this war of hurtful words and that I stay, that's love.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'd be like patting yourself on the back because you helped a drunk person do their taxes. Like, okay, I'm not sure how you give yourself credit for staying in a situation way too long that you should have left. You never even should have got in there.
Yeah.
But when somebody is drenched in emotional upset, they're not going to have a productive conversation with you.
Yeah.
And so it's as soon as you recognize that this upset is now ruling their perspective of what we're talking about and their perspective of you, this would be a great time to stop the conversation. As far as your involvement in it, you don't get to control whether they stop talking.
Right.
You just get to control how close your ears are to their mouth.
Yeah. Again, love that point. I think about just conversations practically, like what do I do when we're here for the holidays, all stuck in one house? How, you've given some examples of, I don't really want to have this conversation anymore. I'm not feeling, I'm not enjoying feeling, accused or different things like that. I think those are really practical, helpful guidelines of what to say, and then to remember that everywhere you go, your ears follow, and to be able to physically remove yourself and put yourself somewhere else. I think those are just to help people maybe that are in this situation. Practically, what does that look like? That there's a real solution. You get to respectfully get up and walk away. And that's not being dishonoring.
Right. It's not. It's being protective of the relationship connection that you have. And being oftentimes when families get back together, they haven't had a lot of connection. So it's pretty fragile. So parking a cement truck on a rope bridge is a bad idea, right? And so if all we can do is walk across this rope bridge, then that's all we can do. And we can assign meaning to that as well and say, well, mature adults ought to be able, if you had any character, you'd be able to manage yourself. You can do all that if you want to, but the reality is you're plummeting to the creek at the bottom of the chasm because you didn't have a strong enough connection to be able to park a cement truck on that. And arguing about gay and lesbian stuff or COVID or
politics.
Do we call it COVID or do we call it Corona or do we call it China virus? What do we call it?
Yeah.
Like, okay, whoa. Check, connection check, connection check. We should have some kind of idea of the strength of this bond before we test it with a big, heavy conversation.
Yeah.
There's lots of things we do agree about, like how much we love each other, how important our family is to each other, our memories of, that we enjoyed each other. I would really focus as much conversation on places where we enjoy each other.
Yeah.
And add to the bond.
And that is where it feels like your family most likely will experiencing you representing who Christ is going in with the goal of where do we agree and where do we want to both protect. And that I go in with the goal of connection rather than, oh, here she is, high and righteous, wants to talk about all the things we all disagree on. how is that going to produce anything if that's your reputation every time you go in? But to go in with a different assignment of I'm going to love like Christ, which doesn't mean I agree with the sin, but also means that I'm loving you first. I think about the woman caught in the act of adultery. Jesus says, go and sin no more. That was the big scolding where everyone was hopeful that she was going to be punished. But Jesus loved her, didn't agree with the sin, saying, go, don't do it again. But if we can lean into that, and that's be our place where we're most famous for in our family, is that we love well.
And we just have to rest in knowing the truth. Knowing the truth will set us free. And I don't have to convince you. There are miserable people that want to stay miserable.
Sure.
And they created around them just so they can stay there. Hurting people hurt other people. Some people are just on fire inside, and they hurt other people around them because they're in so much pain. So the mature love, winning the war between love and fear, really is about us maturing towards a bond, maturing towards some kind of attachment to where I'll manage myself towards my goal of connection with you. That's all I'm going to do with you. So if you want to punish people and you want to intimidate people and you want to judge people, you can do that to everybody that stays in the room with you, but I won't be joining that. So I'm going to go I'm going to go in the kitchen with mom, or I'm going to go outside with the boys and have a beer, or I'm going to go play catch with the kids in the backyard. And I'm also going to set my timer on how long I'm going to be in this event, because I'm not going to stay and be punished or be judged or be hurt by you.
Yeah, so get a hotel room that's not at, it's near the house, but not in the house, whatever you need to do to take good care of yourself so that you can stay in the game.
Yeah.
I think that's the big goal, is to stay in the game, position your heart towards love and connection. And remember, your truth doesn't necessarily mean agreement.
It doesn't. And you still love them.
Yep. Well, that's good.
All right.
Mature love. That's what we're chasing after. And that sounds good. All right. We'll see you guys in a little bit. We're going to take some questions.
Christmas is just 3 days away, and while it might be too late to order physical products, virtual gifts can be sent to you instantly. So, if you have some last-minute Christmas shopping to do, visit store.lovingonpurpose.com. That's store.lovingonpurpose.com, and pick up some of our courses and workshops as gifts today.
All right, so we're going to jump in and take some questions.
Great.
And I will let you know that if you would love to give us a question or testimony, which we need and love, go ahead and go to thekyloshow.com to do that. This is how we keep going, is you keep giving us questions.
That's
Great
it.
questions.
We
so
love them.
make sure you keep doing that. It's awesome. Okay, so James is our first question of the day.
Okay.
Hi, Danny and Brittany. My question is about in-laws. What do you do when there's dysfunctional in-laws in the mix of a relationship? Individuals who are unhealthy, narcissistic, controlling, and they begin to add conflict and meddle into your marriage. What do you advise for couples who might have an unhealthy family member that is really close and begins to influence the relationship?
That's a tough one.
That's not fun.
It's no fun. It really is a boundaries game at this point. You got to manage your heart and keep your love on. At the same time, how much access can this person handle? And maybe at one point they were much closer. They had much more access to your vulnerability, your time, your energy, your resources. Maybe they had access to the children. They had access to coming over on evenings or whatever, and then there's a big explosion, or there's some unresolved conflict that for whatever reason they've decided they can afford to not address. Like, well, please understand that the people who don't address painful disconnects with me are out here. They're
Yeah.
out here. That's probably a whole planet full of those people that don't care about
Yeah.
resolving conflicts with me. But they aren't anybody close to me that don't care about resolving conflicts with me. And so that's when people start access denied. They keep swiping the card at the gate and it's access denied. You're like, hey, wait a second. I used to be in there. Like used to is the key word there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of I'd love to give you access as soon as. And then there's usually a effort to resolve the conflict and to get our respect level back up because I'm going to keep it up here, but I need you to meet me up here. And if you have no interest in joining me, then I don't control that.
Yeah.
I just control who has access to my time, energy, and resources. I don't control how they treat it.
I think the other relationship to look at is the spouse relationship, to be able to, because if the in-laws are influencing through, the other spouse, to be able to have a strong enough relationship with your spouse to give feedback of how that is affecting or how painful that is or what you need there so that you two stay connected as you
Great
navigate
point.
that.
Yeah.
Because that's where things can get really hard and rocky for your marriage, is when you don't feel like you can have that conversation with your spouse and you two are first. And because you've changed, you've left the parents and you've joined and started a new family. So being able to have honest conversations and needs in the exchange in your marriage with someone else's parents is crucial, I think.
Great. I have a frog in my throat. I
You
can feel
do.
it trying to leap out here. It starts right there. Those are that's boundaries. Is okay. We've got to make sure that we're on the same page, and that's what makes it so tough. Is that it's hard to get on the same page when your family affects you way more than your family affects me in setting a boundary. And so, so we've got to get to an agreed upon support spot.
Yeah.
And that really is established between, let me tell you how I'm experiencing that behavior coming through your family gate into our life. And I need to feel protected. And right now I feel pretty trashed by the way that person is happening in our home.
World. Yeah. It always makes me think about the normals that you have, because if it's your parents, you're used to this.
Totally.
You don't see it as black and white as someone else that comes in and walks around going, does everyone spit on the floor in your house?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Oh, that's just what we always did at grandma's house.
Yeah.
That's gross and weird.
Yeah.
Why is that gross and weird? I mean, so that's that can definitely be a big factor. So to be able to get on the same page is great.
Yeah. It's true.
So
great question.
It was. Okay, so the next question we have comes from Angela.
Hey, Danny and Brittney. Thanks so much for doing the KYLO show. Also, I think the Christmas set is so adorable. I know this week at Christmas, I am going to be in the middle of hard conversations. Our dinner table is full of differing opinions, and honestly, I'm afraid that if I speak up, I'll be dismissed or shut out or even assaulted with other people's opinions. I want to stay present and speak up, but I don't want to be punished for my views. So my question is, how do I stay engaged and not get triggered when the conversation turns political? And if it does get really ugly, how do I politely bow out and choose connection with my family? Thanks so much, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, yes.
Well, I think I would make all those decisions before that all happens.
Please go in with a plan, because I bet 100% you're going to be able to use it.
Yeah, it's almost like people think it might not happen this year.
So hopeful.
Yeah, and we're still hurting from the last time we tried to make each other us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's not, we've never been successful making each other us anyways as a family. We're all so different. I don't know why now we think we should be able
Yeah.
to pull this off. But we have different sports teams often. We have different political views always, depending on, our generation, what school we went to, who we married, da da da. So it's it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
So going in with the goal of connection,
Yeah.
and what do I have to do to protect the connection?
Mm-hmm.
That would be my my objective, and it's a brief encounter.
Yeah.
So prioritize your goal, and if your goal is to bleed off all your opinions, maybe you should stay home.
Yeah. Maybe you should zoom in for Christmas.
Maybe you're the problem.
Yeah.
But realize that a political MMA championship at the table is not going to turn out well.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with Taylor about a conversation he was having with somebody, and it was just around getting together with family, and he was saying to them that if you go in thinking you can change these people who have never changed any other time you've tried, and no matter what truth you think they're missing or that they need, that they're not going to change. It's just not how this goes. And so you have to choose that this is your family and that you're going to love them for who they are,
Mm-hmm.
rather than only choose them if they are able to change to the way you see them.
Yeah.
And, we were talking through that, and that feels very applicable to this, is you have to come to this gathering knowing that I choose you for who you are in my life and that you're my family, and I will never change you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll gain influence through connection because I believe that's how it happens, but that doesn't mean I'm going to change you. My goal is to love you. That's why I'm going there.
And maybe broaden your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe give you an appreciation for something that you would never have considered before. There's all these opportunities. There really are really productive outcomes of listening to completely different viewpoints.
Yeah.
They are, if you'll listen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're jammed up and won't listen, or the other person is jammed up and won't listen, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
It's going to be just terrible.
So just that conversation I thought was a beautiful picture
That's
of
great. Yeah.
You have to choose them.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Priorities.
that's what I would say, is you have to choose your family, and whether they're what you want or not, or what you think they should be, it's the plan of I'm choosing you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to direct my love towards you.
And for lots of parents, believe it or not, this is practice for you having adult children. This is coming your way. The thing that you think is never going to happen in your family, brace yourself. Brace yourself.
It might.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a great question, Angela. Okay, we're going to move on to the last one from Benji.
Benji.
Hey, Danny and Brittney. Thanks for doing the KYLO show. Really enjoying it. My question today is, how would you recommend communicating with someone in an honoring way when their lifestyle doesn't seem to match up with what we believe to be true and the truth, yet they want us to agree with or affirm their lifestyle choice or how they want to live? So how would you recommend we do it in an honoring way without having to agree with it?
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Another in-your-face situation for everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, when I disagree with your lifestyle choice, guess what? You probably disagree with my lifestyle choice. It's not a matter of there's only one group that disagrees with other people's lifestyle choices.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same answer to me. It's prioritize
Mm-hmm.
the relationship above the issue, and keep coming back to being able to choose love, connection above needing the person to agree with you and validate you and affirm that you're so right. And if you know you're right, you don't have to scream about it.
I don't know that everyone believes that.
I know, but if you know you're right, you don't have to get upset about
Sure.
people disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
It's usually, I mean, that for me, when somebody disagrees with me, I'm fine with you disagreeing with me. When you attack me personally because I don't agree with you, that's where I get off the bus. I just step right off the bus. Next bus stop after this, I'll be leaving this conversation.
I think that's the key thing for me, is knowing how long to stay in that conversation. If I feel like there's a lot of we've passed that point of, oh, that was my stop back there, way back there.
Oh, dang.
And now you start to get defensive. You start to get almost, you feel ashamed because this person is maybe influencing that you don't really love them because you don't agree with them. And then you get in a swirl of, am I a bad person because of that? I don't know what to think. Or, you get aggressive. That could be the other take that goes. And so knowing when to be done with the conversation is a pretty big thing for me in this. Is I love you. I don't think we're ever going to agree on this. So I don't know that we should keep talking about it. Let's go play nerds. Let's go put the puzzle together. Mom needed help in the kitchen. I do love you. I'm sorry if it feels like I don't love you because I don't agree with you, but that is so far from real truth. I love you deeply, but I don't want to have this conversation. So I'm going to go. I mean, that would be when you start to go into the muck. That's usually time to don't put on your waders. Just take them off and stay in your pajamas. Just stay in your lounge clothes. Don't put on those waders. Don't get in there. It's not going to be pretty. Yeah. So knowing the limit, I think, is
super key. It's self-control.
Yeah,
it's self-control. And I remember working with the guys in a batterers treatment program, and we taught them timeouts. And timeouts was what you do with you when you begin to physiologically recognize adrenaline hitting your bloodstream. When adrenaline starts dripping, when your amygdala jacks up and you're preparing for war is what's happening. Yeah. You are in self-preservation mode. You left the love farm and you are now headed to self-preservation hell is where you're going. And adrenaline is dripping your blood, and you can feel your face get flush, your skin starts to tingle, your heart rate increases, you clenching your teeth. All those are symptoms of you getting off the bus right here. Get off the bus. Get
Jump
off
out the window.
the bus, because things that are coming next are warfare.
Yeah.
And so if you could begin to just pay attention to what it feels like physically, then you can take those cues, and it didn't even have to get to a verbal, tennis match. It just like, all right, I'm gonna bow out right here of this conversation. If you want to go throw a football in a yard, I'd love to do that, but I'm bowing out of this conversation because I know what happens to me if I stay in a disrespectful environment too long. I can't look Christ-like. I won't look Christ-like. I will look like a brawler. I will look like a self-righteous judge is what'll happen. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to blame it on you. I'm blaming it on me because I missed the cue to get off the bus.
Yep. Love it. I think my heart races first. That's usually when I start feeling my heart beat out of my chest. It's going to be bad if I don't get off of this bus immediately. So I love the questions. Those were really good.
Yeah.
Great questions. All right. We are praying for your Christmas table. conversations, and believing you can do it for sure. But we're going to jump into our testimony spot right now.
Awesome.
Give a gift that could change a life, a marriage, a family. You can't say that about every gift, but you can say that about every gift in the Loving on Purpose online store. So, to give a gift that will truly keep on giving, visit store.lovingonpurpose.com. That's store.lovingonpurpose.com today.
Okay, so we're going to jump into testimonies.
Awesome.
And this
Love 'em.
one comes from Zach.
Hey guys, just wanted to talk and say how much KYLO and these podcasts has absolutely impacted my wife and I so much. We've literally been studying the book in and out, listening to every podcast. We simply just cannot get enough of it. It's also totally shaped our marriage and the way we communicate, talk to each other, serve each other. And it's just been absolutely amazing. So, but a really big part was I have a very dysfunctional family. And we had a lot of issues in like the beginning of our marriage and our engagement season with just having relationship with my side of the family. And so there have been times where there's been emails and messages that have been so aggressive, and we did not know how to go about it. And so when we started reading KYLO, it literally completely wrecked the way we see relationships and communication. And literally, there have been times where we've had to write emails to my family that literally will have KYLO open on the side, and we will be essentially typing our email, going back and forth, reading from KYLO and typing our email, making sure we're not being passive and we're communicating well and we're being powerful people. So it has absolutely shaped the way we go about relationships and all that. And so I just wanted to say we really do appreciate you guys and love everything you guys are doing. Love you guys. You guys are awesome.
I started talking. I shouldn't have started talking, but I was saying it's like their study guide. They're filling in the blanks, trying to write an email, which is beautiful.
Yeah. One of their activations.
Mm-hmm.
Write an email to an aggressive family member.
Oh, that's got to be hard, though, to navigate staying connected, communicating, truth and love, and setting boundaries, it sounds like. And maybe email was the safest form of communication. It's not my preferred method in conflict, but that could be the safest route that they're able to communicate. And that's a good option for sure.
Yeah, they might have worked their way down to email.
That was my thought, too, which is hard. It's hard.
It's a bummer.
But they're still doing it. It sounds like they're still engaged in how do we keep our love on? How do we navigate through this? How do we live powerfully? That's what I kept hearing is.
Well, it's beautiful, that they are so committed to keeping the respect level high, managing themselves. And it does feel mechanical. I mean, I'm sure having the book open and, and
the highlighted areas that we're
cut and
flipping.
pasting exact responses, and that feels mechanical. But until it's yours, it's a great place to borrow. It's a great place to get your example, get your illustration, understand what it is that you're doing. It's great when couples do this together because it is so we have a similar goal, and now we have tools and a path to get there that maybe we didn't get from our family members. Maybe one of us did, maybe neither one of us did, whatever, but it is so helpful to have couples sit down and say, let's agree on this as our family culture. These will be our standards.
Mhm.
This will be our practices. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I was just thinking about James's question was very much a family,
Mm-hmm.
in-law situation,
Mm-hmm.
and what Zach and his wife have done is, they're living out
Mm-hmm.
KYLO through a really hard in-law situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how she's navigating because it's obviously his parents, but
Mm-hmm.
there's been a common goal between the two of them to stay connected in the process, and they've been able to create a plan
Mm-hmm.
to move forward, and it sounds like their marriage is doing really great in the process of something that's really painful,
Mm-hmm.
handling family. So I would encourage James to even take that testimony as his own for breakthrough and being able to.
And he kept talking about um, the transition or the transformation. And what he's identifying is they are creating a family culture,
Mhm.
and it's around these agreements like
Yeah.
this is how we're going to do it. This will be the culture of our home.
The new standard.
Yeah, and we'll teach to our children.
Mhm.
We will hold each other accountable to this.
Mhm.
We will people that want to help protect this, they will get closer to us. People that want to do other crazy stuff outside of this, they will get farther away from us. And what will happen is his whole ecosystem of friends and mentors and different people will transition around the culture they've decided.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
A hard shift, probably, too, coming from a
Yeah.
family that
Yeah.
is dysfunctional or has a lot of really bad habits, and maybe they don't know. They haven't had this exposure to KYLO. They don't have enough pain to change. But Zach and his wife are making that change.
Yeah,
And a huge priority.
it is a big deal. It's scary. It's scary to set boundaries with people who've had access prior to you
Yeah.
creating your own family culture. And you say, hey, this is how we do this, and this is what's important to us. And they say, well, it's never been important in our family before.
Ever before.
Well, then our family's going to have less involvement with each other,
Mhm.
because we're not going to include that level of disrespect, that level of gossip, that level, whatever the trouble is. Families have their own particular accent of what kind of like prison. Prison has a hierarchy of criminals. Like these are really bad ones.
Really
These ones aren't so bad. Everybody does that, but those people, okay, we kill those people. So families have these weird evaluations of that's just it's
Just Aunt May.
it's just what we do when we're Italian, we're Irish, we're whatever. We just do this thing. We just throw stuff. We break. When was the last family gathering where somebody didn't break a plate? Somebody didn't throw a plate at something. Like wow, we don't do that. Our kids are not going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we pass on the tradition, is we teach it to the children. Like, right, yeah, we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm. It will be interesting as they grow their family and they've defined a new culture, how this will, when they show up with their family and their family culture at home looks very different than maybe Zach's family, and how the children, if they have children, protect this and engage and ask questions. That's the beauty of kids, is that there's no hiding.
No.
What is happening?
Why is Grandma
Why does
talk
that
like
just
that?
I mean, my kids, whenever they're around, mom's family, we're not around them very often, but there are some things they pick up of, this is different. This is different than us. But the biggest thing they take away is how we lean in to find a place where we agree and love them, even though there's lots of a little bit crazy going on and things that they hear. But it is children are very truth telling to the difference of the culture at home that you're building and shaping versus the culture. So that might be another hard thing that you're going to have to navigate at Christmas, is your kids being in this environment, and what do you do and how do you love, and I think displaying and helping to define what your culture is and give them language if they're old enough to understand that. Or usually if they're asking questions, they're somewhat old enough to understand this.
And
But
I think some parents, because they don't have a very defined culture with their children in their home, they end up playing defense all the time and trying to chase away all the threats instead of teaching their children a great offense and that their child will manage themselves in any of those situations instead of it being the parent's job to chase it all away all the time.
Yeah. And building, a culture that's well defined and you shape powerful people, they show up. And so they're not afraid to give feedback of, hey, that doesn't feel very good. Or, and if they need help, they get to come find you, which is great. So I guess keep defining that culture.
keep defining that culture. I mean, that's probably all going to be in your book, isn't it?
Which is, that's something that's going to be in the works here.
Really soon.
Oh, we just leaked it out. We haven't talked about that at all. Oh, Merry Christmas. Cat's out of the bag. I am writing a book.
Yes.
But
super fun.
Yeah,
We'll talk much more about that.
Yeah, just not yet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And praying for your time together as a family, praying that there's more grace and favor than you expected, and you have more confidence and courage to keep your love on well in this season together with your family. And we're just declaring that over this Christmas for you.
Amen.
And gosh, we might see him almost in the New Year. Is that going to be close? It'll be close.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening to The KYLO Show, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to join us next week when Danny and Brittney discuss the different mentalities of a powerful person and a victim. Never miss an episode of The KYLO Show by subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch us on the Loving on Purpose YouTube channel. Submit your questions and testimonies to thekyloshow.com. The KYLO Show is produced by Ali Armerding, co-produced by Ashley Beck, Leah Alexander, Anna Hill, and Sherry Silk, sound engineered and edited by Taylor Silk, and show promoter Christian Zamora. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.